Metered parking is coming to Montrose Harbor, and some residents are not too pleased with that. The change happened quietly when it was passed by City Council last November. Joining us now with more are Juanita Irizarry, Executive Director of Friends of the Parks, and Val Free, the Executive Director of the Neighborhood Network Alliance. Thanks to you both for joining us. And we should mention that we invited Alderman James Kaplan, whose 46th ward includes Montrose Harbor, to join us, but he declined our invitation. He did send a statement, which we will get to in just a bit. We also invited the city to send a representative, but we have heard no response as of yet. Juanita Irizarry, welcome back. Let's start with you, please. What is your reaction to the addition of these meters?
Well, first of all, the process by which this decision was made was clearly one that did not engage the community. The alderman just to the north, Harry Osterman, decided not to have meters put in his part of the park. And so we really think this is a good opportunity for Chicago to really call for a much better conversation about whether we should even have paid parking at our lakefront parks at all.
Who do you feel like this decision impacts the most?
Obviously, low-income users of parks are likely to be priced out. And that's a problem all over the city, not just at Montrose Beach. But because it is used by such a diverse set of folks, I think it's really drawn a lot of attention in this particular case.
Val Free, these meters have been in South Shore for years at this point. What is your reaction to the sudden push against them on the north side?
Well, I have a couple things. First of all, my reaction is this cry should have happened 10 years ago. It should not be happening now. We've been crying about it for at least 10 years in South Shore. What we see is our community members who are low and medium income families don't really come to the park as families unless they drive there and don't pay the parking and risk taking a ticket, receiving a ticket. So I really think that this is a good opportunity to see what we could do to change this, but it definitely has to look at what's already happening in our parks. If we're talking about reducing crime, if you're pushing the people who need to be in the parks out, how do you do that?
So we invited, as I mentioned, Alderman James Kaplan on, who voted yes for these meters, and his ward includes Montrose Beach. He had a prior engagement this evening, but he did send us a statement, and it reads in part, quote, "Given that the parks in areas of very high poverty have parking meters, areas that are predominantly white should be doing the same, if not more, to help carry the load. When I vote on a budget, I take all of Chicago in mind, not just the 46th ward. We must deal with the city's tale of two cities. Residents on the south and west sides of the city deserve fairer treatment that is long overdue." Val, what's your reaction to that statement?
Oh, I think he should have been in face of let's not pay for parking. How about that, instead of continuing this particular this route? Because again, we're looking at people who do not take their children to the park because it could cost them a minimum of $40.
Juanita, what is your reaction? Is metered parking not a way to control crowds, or in the case
No.
in the case that Alderman Kaplan lays out, he suggested it's a matter of the north side and other residents having to carry the pay for parking load?
Yeah, I think the pay for parking load is really complicated. And I do think we need to point out that on the far south side at Calumet Park, there's free parking right at the beach at the lakefront, and Steelworkers Park has free parking. There's other places on the north side where there are parking lots that you pay, and including at Montrose and at Foster, there are paid parking lots. These are the streets in the park, and the streets in the park are controlled by the city of Chicago rather than the park district. And it's important to just break down some of the distinctions here. But if we want to talk about the parks through the streets and the parks, maybe we should look at Lincoln Park down by Lincoln Park Zoo, for example, which is an area where there are no meters, and relatively wealthy Chicagoans get to use those parks and those streets as their overnight parking. They get to stay there as long as they want, often not moving their cars until there's street cleaning. And then folks like me who live west of there, I live in Humboldt Park, and that would be my beach. I can't go and park my car there because the parking doesn't turn over. And I mentioned that because Alderman Kaplan then also referenced the turnover of parking spaces at Montrose as part of what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, and so to that end, then, do you think that this will be the case, that it will help with parking turnover if there are meters?
Well, there are those who can afford it who will probably just keep paying the parking meter over and over and over again. And those who can't afford it will probably have to look for somewhere else to enjoy a park.
Yeah. And what, Val, sorry, we've got just a few seconds left, but how have you seen the addition of the meters affect the amount of people who use the beaches and parks?
Well, you have people who would normally drive their cars to the lakefront and get out and walk. A lot of them don't do that anymore. You have, again, family members who would have holidays and things like that, celebrations at the park. You don't see it as much. Now, mind you, the parks are still full, but in a lot of cases, they're not paying the fees and they're risking the cost of a ticket.
Okay, so some questions to be asked there. My thanks to Juanita Irizarry and Val Free for joining us. Thank you.
You're welcome.